believe we have a product that we can bring to the floor this month. When the bill comes out, you'll see what it is, and those are some of the discussions that go back and forth. But I'm pleased with it. It's very strong.
Our work isn't done. There's obviously more that we can do to close the deficit of trust and limit the corrosive influence of money in politics. We should limit any elected official from owning stocks in industries that they have the power to impact. We should make sure people who bundle campaign contributions for Congress can't lobby Congress, and vice versa. These are ideas that should garner bipartisan support. They certainly have wide support outside of Washington, and it's my hope that we can build off today's bipartisan effort to get them done.
There were definitely members of Congress talking about this in their campaign ads. But some of them, we weren't necessarily seeing kind of doing all this work behind the scenes to get it done. And so, I think they understand it's a winning message, but I think they also understand that the way the news cycle works, the way the midterms work, and the way kind of memories are short, and there are a lot of issues that the public cares about that they're maybe assuming they're not going to feel kind of the sting of not getting this one done.
Mm-hmm.
And there had been momentum building behind a couple of bills that had been introduced to either restrict or prohibit members of Congress from trading stocks while in office. Those bills typically had not been viewed as viable because Nancy Pelosi, who essentially controls what comes to the floor, had said that she was not interested in bringing that type of bill to the floor. In early 2022, she changed her mind, or at least stated a willingness to bring such a bill to the floor after it's kind of been vetted. Mm-hmm. And she tasked the House Administration Committee with going through the process of putting together legislation that she would consider bringing to the floor.
Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about the current state of that legislation? I guess whether there's any leading candidates for a framework going forward for putting other restrictions on congressional stock trading, or what the current status of all of that discussion has been?
Sure. So the legislation that Pelosi kind of tasked with being created was issued in draft form at the end of September, just a couple of days before the House went out of session. Mm-hmm. The initial plan, or at least the initial plan that had been reported, was that they would try to vote on that legislation before the end of September. That did not happen.
Yeah.
The bill came out pretty late. There were members, particularly in the Democratic leadership, who expressed objections to voting on a bill that quickly, and it is now, backburnered.
there's no reason for us to still be talking about a framework at this stage, right? There were how many bills introduced at the very beginning of this Congress? There's all this language out there that the members putting this together could have been picking and choosing and copying and pasting together and creating a really strong bill. And there's no reason for that process to have taken this long.
Yeah.
And looking at the bill, that's not even what happened, right? It was kind of like a wholesale, let's start over, let's disregard most of these things that have been put in front of us before and come up with something entirely new. That doesn't, at the end of the day, actually address kind of the problems that we're seeing. It has the potential to, but it doesn't as drafted currently.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like just due to the fact that it was introduced right at the end of the session, there may not have been, an actual desire to get it passed. It was more just like positive PR and having something out there.
Right. I mean, I think that is certainly a fair assessment. And I think, again, I go back to kind of what a missed opportunity this is. There are so many members of the public that are loudly saying, I want to see strong legislation on this issue. This is an issue that matters a lot to me. And going into midterms, I can't believe this wasn't a priority for both Democrats and Republicans, because being the one who gets a bill across the finish line on this, or the one that is championing strong legislation on this, to me is such a winning political message that I just cannot imagine why we don't see more members doing that.
Best way is to focus all of your attention to your member. So if your representative, and that's your House representative and your Senate representative, when they receive emails, letters from constituents, it has a lot of weight. And once the end, it's in the local media. So to send those emails and have that push covered in the local media, send it to that representative. You're going to get them on record saying whether or not they support or oppose it, and they're only going to go on record to say they support it. And that helps to build the momentum to get more lawmakers focused on it and willing to make statements in support.
I mean, voting is always the most important one for me on that, and following the information that you're interested in. So there's many more sources now to actually track stock trading of individual members.